Welcome to a deep dive unlike any other. We are peeling back the layers on a really strange piece of source material today.
Yeah, it's excerpts from a video transcript, 1968, called The Newsbenders.
And this isn't just, looking back at history.
Not at all. It's more like stepping into this narrative that suggests, well, that news, reality, maybe even big global events aren't just happening, that they might be carefully orchestrated by some hidden hand.
Right. It really challenges how you might think about, well, everything around you.
So let's set the scene. It's London, 1968.
Okay.
And you're this guy, Robert Santa Larkin. He's a successful TV director, does work for the BBC, plays story editing, directing.
And he had a reputation, didn't he, earlier on, like early 60s?
Yeah, for these hard-hitting, vital shows, things on alcoholism, slum clearance, serious stuff.
But the source says things had changed by 68.
Exactly. He's still doing 4 shows a year, getting high ratings, critics like them, but he apparently calls them soufflé, a little soft in the center.
So maybe feeling a bit creatively stuck.
Perhaps. And then, kind of out of the blue, he gets called into this very unusual meeting.
He'd heard things about this organization from his BBC time.
Yeah, 1 or 2 things. Nothing good, barely. So he goes to meet someone known only as JG.
Just JG. Okay.
And the first thing JG does is basically show Larkin how much they know about him. It's unsettling.
How much?
Everything. His flat in Holland Park, the cottage down in Hampshire, his wife Rachel, the kids, Rebecca and Daniel.
Wow.
Even the dog and the cat. They know about his country weekends, the whole routine.
Comprehensive surveillance.
It gets deeper. JG brings up a serious affair Larkin had. An affair that ended, very specifically, on July 25th, 1966.
They knew the date.
They knew the date. They apparently knew details he thought nobody could possibly know. They even quote something he said to his wife about it.
Okay, that's chilling. How did Larkin react?
Understandably, he's floored. Asks, where the hell did you get that?
Then the answer.
We have ways of finding things out.
Yeah.
Very calm, very matter of fact.
Wow.
And what's really interesting is how they frame it. They tell him they were interested because he went back to his wife.
Because he went back.
Yeah, they call it very responsible, which leads into this strange idea they have, the power quotient. They describe it as, like, a ratio, responsibility versus aggression.
Okay. Bit clinical.
Very. And they tell Larkin his score is 0.2.
0.2. Is that good or bad?
JG says, that's very low. That's what we need. So this low aggression, high responsibility thing, that's what they're looking for.
Right. Which brings us to the organization itself, CWNS.
CWNS, the Classified World News Service.
And what are they, according to the source?
Well, they're supposedly set up midway between the government and TV companies.
Okay.
Handling newsreels that have a security classification, wars, weapons, political leaks, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They claim TV news gets its film from them.
Standard enough, maybe, for the era. But then it gets weird, right?
Oh, yeah. JG starts talking about surgical transmitters.
Surgical transmitters? What are those?
Tiny little gadgets, supposedly fitted inside people.
Inside people? You're kidding.
So the transcript says.
Yeah.
They supposedly link to your pulse rate. Make a bleep sound if you get excited while talking.
A bleep. Why?
They call them oral contraceptives.
Sorry, what?
Oral contraceptives.
Okay.
To stop people talking too much, saying the wrong thing.
This dystopian.
And then there's this detail. They contain enough stuff, quote unquote, inside to kill 6 people.
Oh my God.
And it's controllable by a button.
A kill switch. Inside someone.
That's the implication. And then JG tells Larkin he has one.
What?
Says he got it during an appendix operation 3 years earlier, Charing Cross Hospital.
No way. How does Larkin even respond to that?
He tries to rationalize it. Maybe someone told him about the operation.
Yeah.
But JG apparently gives some kind of demonstration that implies it's real, active.
So they've shown him they know everything. They've given him this bizarre rating.
Yeah.
Told him he's got a kill switch inside him.
Right. And now they make the offer.
Which is?
To join their newsreel department. But not just directing.
Okay.
The job is to help them plan the news for 1973.
Plan. The news. What does that even mean?
Exactly. The source clarifies they're not saying they make every event happen, necessarily.
Right.
But they create models, fake newsrooms, fake newsreels, fake commentaries, basically generating stuff the public accepts as real news.
So they're fabricating the news coverage.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And they claim they plan in detail, but only 1 year ahead.
Wow. Do they give examples?
Oh, yes. Very specific ones for 1973, April 14th. First historic pictures by Rad Star of a combined U.S.-Russian landing on the moon.
U.S. and Russian. together
Hmm.
in 73.
Yep. Majors Webb and Mikhailovich. And they add that the Pentagon and Kremlin will announce the moon has no strategic value.
Okay, what else?
June 22nd, 1973, they plan to release film of the ultimate weapon, codename Icarus,
Icarus, what's that supposed to be?
a satellite with a solid reactor. It can supposedly freeze air solids, stop missiles, kill life. Positioned over major cities, JG says they're rather proud of this one.
Freeze air. That sounds scientifically questionable.
We'll get to their claims about science later. They're pretty wild. But yeah, that's the 73 plan.
Any more examples?
One more big one. September 5th, 1973. War by example.
War by example.
China attacks a remote Indian border village, Bandor, with 2 5-megaton H-bombs. A village specifically not protected by this Icarus network.
So they're planning a nuclear attack simulation, or claiming to.
Claiming to plan the news of it.
Yeah.
That's the key thing JG emphasizes. Making the models, the fake reels, is much cheaper than making the actual events happen.
And people buy it.
According to JG, yes.
Right.
Because things like moon rockets or satellites are too remote.
Yeah.
People haven't seen them up close, so they believe what they're told, what they see on the newsreel.
So if it's outside your direct experience.
Then engineered perception becomes your reality. That's the core idea here.
It's manipulation on a massive scale.
Absolutely. And they don't just do big geopolitical stuff. They mention planning softer things, too.
Like what?
An anti-teenage movement, maybe a religious revival. They even cite planning the grand opening of Ruislip Cathedral, 1st of October, 1973.
So cultural trends as well as hard news.
Seems like it. Anything to shape the public narrative.
And what are they offering Larkin for this job?
Get this. Starting salary, £250,000 a year.
$250,000. In 1968, money.
Staggering, right. And it rises to £1 million if he makes it to their Ministry of Morality.
£1 million. But the claims they make about how the world actually works are even more, well, mind-bending than the salary.
Right. This is where it goes really deep into questioning reality as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
CWNS claims a lot of the big stuff just doesn't work.
Like what? Missiles,
Yeah.
satellites?
Exactly. They say they don't really function. Cape Kennedy launches, just a fireworks party, according to JG.
A fireworks party. Seriously.
That's the quote. They specifically mentioned the new American ICBM, Boy Wonder, with its Mercury warhead, call it a scientific impossibility.
Okay, so they're dismissing major military tech.
And the biggest one of all, the H-bomb, the hydrogen bomb.
What about it?
JG claims, flat out, it doesn't work either.
The H-bomb doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But Hiroshima, Nagasaki, that was A-bombs, but the H-bomb is the big one.
They claim 5 years were spent in negative research on the H-bomb after 1945, precisely because the Americans didn't want anyone else getting it, implying its threat is a managed perception.
That's a massive claim. It undermines the entire Cold War narrative.
Completely. They also wave away big spy stories like Philby is just good copy for the Sunday paper.
So espionage is fake too.
Or at least the public version is. They say they work very closely with the Russian Secret Service.
Okay, this is dizzying. What about other powers, like China?
They claim China announcing its bomb started with a phony explosion that CWNS recorded. They just put the sound out there, hoping China would complete the pattern and cling it.
So they seeded the idea.
According to the source, yes. And despite real bloody conflicts like Vietnam happening at the time.
People were definitely dying there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But JG insists there is no danger of world war, the whole capitalism versus communism thing.
Yeah.
Meaningless. Strawberry or vanilla, he says. It all adds up to the same thing.
Yeah.
Just different flavors of the same controlled system.
So the core idea is control through managing ideas, especially about things people can't check for themselves, like bombs and satellites.
Precisely. If you can't see it, you believe the story you're told. That seems to be their operating principle.
Which leads to, well, why? What's the structure here, the purpose?
JG lays out a kind of hierarchy of control.
Okay.
At the bottom, politicians, Johnson, Kosygin, the grosser mentality boys, just like getting their pictures taken.
Ouch. Okay, who's above them?
Factory workers, building the weapons that supposedly don't work.
Right.
Then economists, top civil servants, military brass, the ones overseeing these alleged fake tests.
And then CWNS.
You know, top, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Controlling the media, the narrative. But even they report upwards.
To who?
Other offices and ultimately a giant computer system. Link number 4 in world control, JG calls it.
A giant computer running things in 1968.
Yeah, storing vast amounts of data, Wall Street prices, weather patterns, and giving decisions. JG sees it as just extra hands.
But Larkin's reaction.
Larkin hears about all this data, all this control, and pushes back, suggesting maybe the machine is controlling them.
A classic sci-fi trope, but in this context. Creepy. And the justification for all this, why do it?
The justification offered is stark. Managing a world where 1/4 of the world is starving.
Okay. How does controlling news and faking bombs help with starvation?
They outline two main methods to keep the world sort of stable, divide between the empty bellies, those with potential unrest, maybe rifles, and the full bellies, us getting flabby.
And one.
The fictitious hydrogen bomb, create this massive overriding fear, keep people scared of annihilation.
And method two.
Money. Keep enough money flowing to fill some of the empty bellies, create some hope, prevent total despair. They call it a great wall of money.
Great wall of money.
And JG explicitly links this to needing to keep the British economy specifically stable, to stay alive and maintain this whole system.
So it's a combination of fear and managed hope, or dependency.
That seems to be the strategy described. Manufactured fear, control the economics, keep everyone off balance.
And this principle of fear, this emotional threat, they apply it more broadly too.
Yeah, not just the bomb. Things like overcrowding, blamed on bad planning, or selling too many cars. Little stresses to keep people a little bit removed from reality.
Wow, they even get philosophical about it.
Are very cynical. JG claims people don't work for money, but the idea of love. Love for the idea of love, hate for the idea of hate, operating on abstracts, not reality.
That's quite a worldview.
And then there's this really bizarre detail about LSD.
LSD, what about it?
They claim it was engineered as a non-addictive drug, specifically to neutralize protest movements.
Engineered?
Yeah. JG says it gave him nice little hallucinations, made protesters throw flowers at policemen, basically pacifying dissent.
That's quite a claim about the counterculture.
It is. And overarching all this, the claim is the world's run from about 6 big cities. CWNS controls 1/6 from their building.
How?
Controlling communications, getting magazines, TV to use their copy, their narrative. JG seems confident, says 99-point-something% of people wouldn't believe any of this anyway.
And the tiny percentage who might.
They're already part of the system or neutralized. They guarantee the future, JG says, by scaring the hell out of their grandchildren.
Chilling. But throughout all this, we have Larkin's reactions. He's our sort of human anchor in this.
Absolutely. You see him grappling with it, disbelief, like they claim they're listening to his every word.
And fear, right, even though he says he's scared by nothing.
Yeah, that quote itself is telling, isn't it? It suggests how deeply disturbed he is by their just sheer calculated coldness.
And in the end, despite that huge salary,
he refuses, flat out. Well, I won't buy it, he says. Ask them. You're not still going to ask me to work for you.
Yeah, and there's that moment where he really pushes back, right?
Yeah.
The seaside memory.
That's a really powerful moment in the transcript. He counters their detached, abstract view by recalling this very real, specific day.
The day he ended the affair.
Right. He's at the seaside with his family. He describes seeing this huge stretch of sand, footprints in a circle around 3 sandcastles his kids made, tracks leading to the sea.
A very vivid human image.
The whole damn day of my family marked out in front of me, he says. It's tangible. It's real. It's about connection.
How does JG respond to that?
It really highlights the gulf between them. JG says, we rather like that bit about footprints. Admits some people in their line of work get rather a long way away from the idea of footprints in the sand.
Wow. So they acknowledge the humanity but dismiss its relevance to their work.
Exactly. And Larkin is just horrified at the thought of using their methods, their planned bomb scares, on his own children.
Understandably. So how does the conversation end, according to the source?
It circles right back to the beginning. JG brings up the surgical transmitter again.
The kill switch.
Reminds Larkin, there's enough of this stuff inside you at this moment to kill 6 people.
Just lays it out there.
And finishes with, there's a button we can press. A final direct threat.
So we've taken this deep dive into, well, an absolutely extraordinary transcript from 1968.
Yeah, revealing this supposed clandestine group, the CWNS.
Claiming to manipulate global news, fabricate huge threats like nuclear weapons, saying they don't even work.
Control economies through fear and money flows, manage populations. All for this cynical idea of world stability.
It really paints a picture where our perceived reality, especially the big stuff, the global stuff, is presented as being completely engineered, curated.
And the public just accepts it, largely because how would you verify it? If you haven't been to the moon or seen an ICBM launch site yourself?
You rely on the news. which they claim to control. A world run on fear and the idea of things, not the things themselves.
What's really fascinating, I think, is the sheer detail and the internal logic they present. This whole system of control based on a fake H-bomb and a wall of money.
Yeah, justified by managing global poverty, bizarrely enough.
It does raise a huge question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If the very foundation of what we know about the world, especially things beyond our immediate sight, could potentially be crafted, controlled by a hidden hand playing on ideas and fears.
How does that shape our own perceptions? How do we know what's real? It's a lot to think about. What stands out most to you from this dive into the world of the CWNS?